All right, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're doing more of the same, which is looking at a feature film or a narrative project. We're going to break it down. This is a small snippet from a much longer breakdown, which you can catch over on Patreon. Patreon is a great way to support the podcast and the channel to keep all these things going, so in between jobs I can actually talk to you and hopefully share some of this stuff, because it's not the easiest stuff to track down, but once you see it, hopefully it will start to make sense and it'll make you a better cinematographer. So today, we're looking at dark and how, in this series, as you start to eliminate things, that puts more and more pressure on the remaining elements. And you have to get the remaining elements right if you want to make something look good. So this is all about how we can take away so many things that we use oftentimes to create as much depth as possible. And as you take away those things, then that puts a lot of pressure on what remains. Where's the best spot to put that light? And if we then think about it in reverse, if we manage to track down, okay, what's the single most important thing that we can't eliminate in order to continue to get images that we're happy with? If we can identify that, then we know when we're building out in the future, well, what should we concentrate 80% of our energy on? Where should we focus that big chunk of energy in order to at least get in the ballpark of something that we're going to be happy with? That way, if we are pressed for time, at least we know we're the majority of the way there, and we can rest easy that managing the little tiny 1% wins is going to get us a slightly better image. But if we run out of time, at least we have the hard yards done. So again, this is a little snippet from that Patreon video. If you want to check out the Patreon, the link is in the description below. Many thanks, and enjoy this little breakdown.
Okay, we cut from here to hands going into something, doing something. Okay, we're going to shoot it. It's going to be dark. We're doing some horror movie. Get the light in the right spot, right? As you start to take things away, all your little tricks and your little gimmicks, as things start to get down to the bare essentials, what you see is the one bare essential is if you're going to go with a single light, you have to get it in the right spot, or else there's no more tricks. You don't have any other tricks to do. You can't use the room tone because it's got to be dark. You can't use the L of the room because you got to create depth. No, you've only got put the light in the right spot, and then get the camera positioned to the light in the right spot. That's all you have. And this is the perfect example of that. If you've got one light, put it in the right spot. There, coming this way. We're on this side of the line. We got a little foreground element there to keep things interesting. We come around and, first of all, how did they get that shot? So this is supposed to be the bed, I'm assuming. And then we come around and somehow we were shooting past. Oh, we're at such an angle here that as we come out wider, okay, so we were supposed to be shooting along there. We're not supposed to be shooting along the bed. Okay, again, hot, super hot. I mean, this is what super hot looks like. If you not getting super hot, the amount of work that you save, if you're just going to say, fuck it, I don't care if the windows look like that, you've made your job significantly easier. If you say, I don't like the way that looks, I want to keep this just from clipping. So I want to make it hot, but I don't want to make it clipping. Well, now your job is significantly harder. Okay, so those are the two choices that you have. Oh, somebody's finally turned a practical on. This could be like a hint in the series that we've never even thought of. Maybe the practicals are only for the bad people. Anyway, this is down. And this is where you could, again, use the Titan Tube room ambient trick if you were on stage. This is one of those situations where, especially if you don't care about those windows, you lower the ISO as low as you can possibly get it. Fatten up the image as much as you can, and then take down the lighting, right? You wouldn't want to shoot this at 1600 ISO. You want to shoot this at 400. Really down. Get as much light on the sensor as you can. Again, though, it's a nice, interesting room because we're using the curtains to only allow little tiny leaks of light. Pressing this little angle here. Nothing coming this way except the practical, right? You got the practical here. And then if you want ambient in this area, you just switch on the panel that's above there and just ever so slightly leak it down. Don't throw it over here. You just have to be... There's nothing that offers more flexibility than having an overhead for room tone, right? That's like, there's only so many things that you can complicate on set. And one of those is not having a way to get room tone in a certain location. So it's a big advantage to be able to do that. Okay, again, we're on the dark side. Oh, and what's in the background there? When we cut behind his head, practical, because it's dark as all hell back there. And to make it interesting, we need to see something back there. So up the practical. Then eye light, 2 eye lights, right? He's got the actual window in there. Then he's got what's lighting him from down below. Stands up, boosh. On the right side of the line, darkness. Here, we cut out to our drug dealer friend here who's wheeling and dealing. Now, it's raining outside, but it's sunny. Clipping. Don't know what's going on there. This is the movies. We dolly out. Credit card shot, right? Because we've set up here. As we come wider, I'll show you. We ever get wider than that? I think that's the widest that we come, right? Right there. So, we got no light coming this way. We've got our natural daylight coming in this way. And in this situation, say you wanted to make this not raining, you wanted to make it sunny. This is still the perfect orientation. You wouldn't want this hot sun in the background if you were going to try and make it sunny. You would want to either shoot earlier when this is in backlight or shoot later depending on the location. But this is a great angle inside of this location because you have to imagine that this window of this wall of windows carries around in the L of the room, and we can push as much level as we want this way. So we won't need that much level because we can get really close based on the framing, right? You wouldn't need then the full 18K because you're not backed up 30 feet. You could do this with a little 4K or something where you just want to overpower. You would just set the background in camera. So say you land there, the camera for some reason gets there first. You don't want to use your light meter. You just use the iris as soon as you get the camera set up. Use the iris to set the background. As soon as you like the darkness in the background, well then you say, I guess we could do it. So say you don't like it this dark, this light in the background. So we just get the iris, and go, I sort of like it there, right? I like the background there. Well, now we know, okay, you look at the stop on the lens, and you say, okay, that means it says 16 on the lens, and I want to shoot it at 2.8. Well, now you got to go 11, 8, 5, 6, 4, 2.8, right? You got 5 stops that you need in here. And you say to the gaffer, hey, we need 5 stops in here. They go, they put the 4K. They know that if they use the half grid from 12 feet, it's going to be too much. So now we got to use the quarter grid. They come up to you and say, we got to use quarter grid. Is that going to be enough, the softness? You say, no, I don't think so. Then you say, okay, we're not going to be able to get away with a 4K. We're going to have to use something else. Or you're going to have to deal with a slightly hotter background, which you can then deal with in the grade. Those are the conversations that you're having on set all the time, as fast as you can have them, because these things have to get, you got to set it up. You got to get done, especially narrative, where you're constantly going and hopefully leapfrogging to get ahead. So that would be how you set it. You set the background because you can't control out there, and then that tells you what lamp you need over here and to what level. But that being said, much like I said last week, easiest thing to do here is put the 18K out there. If you can afford it. If you can't afford it, put the aperture 300D. If it looks terrible, or if there's not enough level, if you're pushing through magic cloth, well then you go, okay, we'll take the magic cloth off and push it through quarter grid. And they say, then they put the quarter grid up and it still looks like shit. There's still not enough level on his face. You say, okay, have we got another aperture? Have we got anything else that we can use to boost this level? They say no. Then you say, well, we're just gonna have to deal with the background as it is. We can't do anything. So go with the biggest. If that doesn't work, go with the biggest thing that you have.
All right, so hopefully you see that it makes a big difference where you put the lamp relative to the talent. That seems obvious, and it should be, but it wasn't until I saw it time and time and time again that became the main focus of all of my energy in pre-production, in understanding what the director wants, in understanding the locations, in talking with the team during the tech scout. It's like, if I know that's the most important thing, that's where I'm going to focus all of my energy to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So at least we nail that. So at least we can move on, and we can be happy that we haven't screwed up that. Because if we're screwing that up, that is a sign that the whole thing is underwater. Basically, I know my job is just going straight down the toilet if we can at least get the placement of the light relative to the talent correct. And then thinking about it a little bit more, thinking about the blocking and the framing and the coverage around a scene, that will dictate your lighting. Again, seems fairly obvious, but if you don't have a lot of money, if you don't have a lot of resources or time, well, then you need to think about a different approach, something that is going to be manageable if you're looking to create images that you can be happy with and that you can be deliberate about controlling the contrast and controlling the nuance, because that's what I'm looking for all the time. Like, that's the part that interests me. I just don't want to randomly stumble upon a great image. I want to have created that great image out of an endless possibility of dog shit images. That is how I can at least not trick myself into thinking that I just locked into something. Right? The more that I can input into control over a certain environment, it feels like for me, the more that I'm doing and the better off that my skills are becoming, because I'm able to exercise the vision that's in my head and impose it on the environment around me, which is probably different than what you hear other normal cinematographers say, right? Ones that aren't psycho. But, everybody has their problems, and this is mine. Okay, and that is going to do it. Many thanks. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.